Hello. So a rough morning today. I mean, most mornings are rough. It's just like in terms of I mean, all of the health conditions I state are self-diagnosed, and just being honest with myself is a likely scenario of what's going on. But then, do you trust my assessment of my honesty to myself as a good judgment? Doesn't really matter either way. That's where it comes from. And when I wake up in the mornings, that's when I get PTSD. But that PTSD is the terror for my life in terms of what I'm able to take control with. So in other words, here's my life, and here is what I see where I have to go. It's not where I'm certain to end up, but in pursuit of taking control and being a man in this world, applying an element of control, there's only one real route for me, and that's where the PTSD comes from. So what I'm hoping to do, touch on a few specific areas lightly, because there are only a few specific areas, and paint a picture of what it is that keeps me trapped in this place. Because to a certain extent, as I decided to make this video, I sort of realised that sorry, my mind's gone blank. But there was another element that I could add on to this video. I can't remember what it was right in a second, but I'm sure it'll come out once I start talking. But yeah, there's life to be had outside of my PTSD, because my PTSD problems from the outside are right. They can be perceived insignificant, but it's like a really hard thing for me, because I'm almost certain that unless my understanding of the entire world changes, and I'm sincere about that, because don't forget, I claim I'm autistic first, so I believe I'm really high on the autistic spectrum, because I've by the people who've taught me in this life, they've taught me to adapt. So I've got systems of how to deal with things. And where I've got systems of how to deal with things, it means like I've got a very detailed perception of the entire world through these systems that I'm able to do these things with. And I sort of crumble, not because I rely so much on my autism, but because it's really arrogant to say, but I think what I'm trying to say is I've got the world on, well, yeah, there's a pun in this as well, but I've got the world on lockdown in terms of my perception to it, because my perception comes through these filters, and my life of being autistic and knowing I can't rest, well, never having the label. So I'm like, for me, autism was never an acceptable level to rest. It wasn't an acceptable level of life. I had to be normal, but I was aware that I was a bit stupid, and you know, that's where I am with my understanding of the world. So I always pushed and pushed. I always tried extra hard. That's what I'm trying to say. And I was always a bit behind still. But and I think what I'm trying to say is, on the surface, in one way, my problems are like really almost superficial. Almost. All I have to do is be humble and adapt my life in a specific way, and I can still go on. But I can't quite see that. And I thought, if I make a live stream, just, I don't know, just playing with consciousness, I don't know what to call it, just putting my problem, my bubble that keeps me in this place out there to the universe. That somehow that energy transfer can create wisdom for me going forward, and I can find a solution to this. So the crux of my problem is, I have a problem around urinating, a problem around my sleep, and a problem around breathing. Now, the urinating affects the breathing obviously affects the sleep affects my life and mind. That's pretty much the workflow. If it wasn't for the sleep being affected, I wouldn't care about my breathing being off, or the urinating problem. They're only a problem I don't know about the urinating. The urinating one might have another element to it, but yeah, the sleep is a big issue. Is the main issue. So last year, I'm not quite sure how to come at this to express it, but what's happened is okay, so I've got a mental health disorder, and it's affected me greatly over my life, and it's becoming more and more a burden upon me. I've realised from my teens how sleep affected my life, and yeah, it was from my teens, and I realised, like, around the time of Brexit, when we were voting, that I needed to implement a sort of sleep health hygiene regime for my life. So just make myself, like, say to myself, don't ever, unless I'm going to a nightclub, don't stay up past 3:30 sort of thing. Don't do this with sleep, don't do that with sleep. And I got in check with sleep, and it was like something I knew, right, no matter how bad my mental health got, I'd always be doing my bit and then making sure I've got at least sleep on my side. So at least I'm not going to be making my life any harder. Then about 3 years ago, that dark summer, it was like I was being tampered with energetically and stuff, and it was affecting my sleep. All the stress, I don't know what to call it. I don't know if it was all the way I was being affected, or the stress combination of both or something else. But either way, my sleep wasn't in check. I was constantly stressed and my life was, you know, terrible, but I did the best I could for my sleep still. I couldn't do any more. So that's where I rested. I wasn't like kicking up a fuss in any way about sleep. It wasn't nice. You know, obviously I would have preferred to have sleep in check, but it was my mental health doing it to me in the first instance. So, you know, if I can't do any more towards my mental health, if I'm doing it already, I think it was trying to, you can see what I mean by that. It's like, I'm a slave to my mental health first. That's what I've accepted first. So for me to have to put my sleep into a regimented pattern for my mental health, it means I'm a slave to my mental health, and I have to do this thing that isn't natural. It isn't a human thing. You just be natural, sleep whenever. I'm having to make sure I'm getting good sleep for my mental health. And then my mental health wants to come at me all day long, every day, make me this way, and take sleep from me. Well, I'm a slave to my mental health first, and I've accepted that. So if my mental health wants to come and take my sleep, then, well, you know, the acceptance is already there. I can't do anything. It's not nice, as I said, but I'm fighting the bigger problem. And sorry, my mind isn't with it today. But anyway, I came away from that summer and I managed to get my sleep back in check. Well, I think it was largely back in check by itself. And there was a gentleman, it was through the process of getting this flat, there was a gentleman I met at the council who was helping me with my application, and I was speaking to him, and he made me aware that he didn't sleep at all. Is it sleep? I don't know which sleep disorder it is, but he doesn't sleep. Maybe once every so often the medication works, but on the whole he doesn't sleep. And it terrified me, because in him, in his body, in his face, the way he spoke, I could tell he was taking into account the problems of what comes with sleep deprivation, what it does to the nerves and what that does to the body. It just like it was evident in him. I don't know if it was my imagination playing games, but it's exactly what I would have imagined him. Well, it's what I would have imagined him looking like if he wasn't sleeping. And it scared the life out of me. And I don't know if I gave my mental health the opportunity, or I created it as a result of the fear. But I began to lose sleep again. And I rationed it, like it's just happening naturally, it's doing it by itself. As long as I'm lying there at night and I'm okay, my body's resting, what's the problem? But the problem was I was in a lot of pain. That's when the pain started. And where I was in pain, that was a horrible experience. You know, I couldn't deal with that. I couldn't lie there at night and be so tense and be in pain and uncomfortable and have my sleep taken. It was just too much of an experience. So anyway, after a while, I think I just suffered that out. But along came last year, and when the pain rocked up, as the pain returned with a vengeance, I realised I needed to make a change with sleep, because I'd just be put through the same situation as before. Anyway, years before, I was going to touch on this slightly. I can't do it. My mind is just like falling apart from the lack of sleep. I appreciate, look, me standing here for 15 minutes talking about my problems. It wasn't where it was at with this video, so let's think about how I can change it, lighten it up, keep more of the topic, because I want listeners for this. I want consciousness to hear consciousness, because maybe that makes the shift on a consciousness level for me. That's where the wisdom comes from. So anyway, my sleep is a huge problem. Managed to last year get on top of it in a different way, with a new sleep pattern. I spoke about it on the videos earlier this year. Wasn't anything special, just allowed me to somehow get some rest, you know, a few times a day, and gave me more hours in the day. I felt happier with it. I felt more in my body with it somehow. Then comes the last medication I was put on, and it's affected my breathing, and no more sleep. Anyway, any which way, old way. Well, I'm passing out. I know I'm passing out, and there'll be people like looking at me. If they were to see me there at night, they'd be like, "No, he's sleeping. This is what sleeping is." And I'm saying, okay, I appreciate this might look like sleeping. I appreciate this might be sleeping on your books. I appreciate this is what the vast majority of people must experience when they sleep. But what I'm saying is me knowing sleep from last year to whatever this is, and knowing my body as I do beyond that, I can say last year's sleep was healthy. This year's sleep is, it's zapping my body. I'm dying slowly. I'm dying slowly. Like literally, I'm becoming weaker and weaker. And I might sleep myself to death. Might be the first case. But I'm confident enough to say that that's not good sleep. That's not sleep. That's not sleep. That's a slow process of dying that looks like sleep at night. Whereas whatever I was getting in way of sleep last year was, I don't want to say on the born healthy, but it was healthy in comparison, and that's all I know. So, you know, I've got this problem, and what do I do? I'm petrified because it's all into play, and I can see how I'm weaker to my mental health now. I was stronger, I had something to my mental health before, but now I'm just so weak it can just come in whenever it wants and beat the shit out of me. Otherwise, you know, what's the problem? I just decide to sleep or not. I just get on with my life. There's no real problem, but the problem is my mental health, managing my mental health. So, the obvious answer is to say, if I'm at my weakest already and I'm not going to get out of this, and it's for my mental health, maybe I bring the acceptance down to that level and say, let's get my mental health with nothing except the peace of mind that I'm removing the stress from that element of my life, and see how that does for me. And in truth, I think what's likely to be is a case of, yeah, for a while it'll be better, and then my mental health will return. That's what always happens. This time I'd know I'm a lot weaker to it. This time I am a lot weaker to it. And when it comes next time, I will experience the PTSD terror, and I'm going through now, and open out that terror. And the terror is, what the fuck is going on? You know, I'll have to deal with my mental health first. How the personal, you know, the real part of my mental health is that it makes it all personal. It's like, what could hurt in this instance? Let's make it personal. That way it will hurt more. And I know it's not personal. I know there's nothing personal. I know there's no person to put a label on, as much as I know there is. And I know there's a conundrum there, and I'm aware of it, but it's just from the perspective that I can expand my energy to at present to see beyond. So I just leave it like that for now. And also the terror of my life, that I can't deal with the society and how I'm essentially like I don't know what to call it, a bad child to the world, and for whatever reason, when I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I'm just trying to be a good child. But obviously there's things this strange world doesn't like, and I display those characteristics, and they tell me it's because of my mind, and then they tell me that because of those, they're able to take my freedom away and inject me with medication that kills me. It's like I'm at the stage now where I can see how much it's killing me each time, how much I'm dying as a human being each time. And there's a real terror around that. So these are very real things, and they'll be here for me in 10 years' time. And if I go away and think life is rosy and then come back to them, it's going to be that much harder to deal with. I'm best off dealing with them in the present moment and having them over and done with, having them out in the air sort of thing. Otherwise, I've got no chance. And that's where I'm at with it. That's why I'm locked in, basically. I expressed the situation with my mental health. I expressed the situation with what causes my PTSD, and I expressed the situation that, well, I always believe I'm going to have to come back to those 2 points. How much am I able to deal with society, and how much am I able to deal with my mental health? I don't know which one's worse. Which one plays off the other, and which one's trying to stave the other. So, what do I do? What does one do in that place? It's, in a way, I guess it is like the PTSD when from veterans, because I was going to say, well, at least with veterans, they don't have to go back to war. Once war's done, that's it. They can just say, well, that's it. No more war for me. I quit the army. And then go and deal with the war on the streets here. But in honesty with that statement, in sincerity with that statement, it's a case of, I just realised for the first time, and I didn't see this before, but the veteran, this is probably what troubles him, is that conflict, because what he sees on the battlefields is people being brutal and killing each other to the absolute. What scarred his memory and visions of mutilated bodies from war, and at the worst, I can imagine that's like pretty high up the list of things that give veterans PTSD. But the veteran must also have a conflict with society again. How can this loving place, when they return, where it's all rosy, send people off to war and risk that sort of suffering, that sort of experience of life, you know? How can this, which we're claiming ourselves to be advanced species, be in any way linked to the other? And that question I'm experiencing now of, well, how can society be willing to take me away and medicate me? It's the same sort of question, you know. It's like there's something wrong with society, if we're honest. And I'm one of the last remaining people who get put down upon by society. We've had time, there was a time when the black tribe was outcast by society in these parts of the world. There was a time when LGBT tribe was outcast by society. And to a certain extent, there's an integration process, as much as it's not finished, is it? It's still going on. There's still injustices out there. But this is society, and it just hasn't included the mental health tribe to a level that's in any way, well, acceptable for an evolved society. And That's all it is, you know. It's like the man standing there and he's saying, well, how can I put myself above society when I've just gone to a war to kill another man? How can I claim humanity in any way? I'm not. I'm stuck there between this thing that this machine that I can't raise my consciousness above to just stand above within myself, to say, I know you're wrong. I know what you stand for is wrong because I've just experienced it and I know that's wrong. He's not going to likely be able to do that. And it will continue and continue. I guess, you know, I'm fearing 10 years, but a miracle could happen, you know. The system could outrule forced medication upon people. It could outrule that. It could cast it out of law. So I mean, there's possibilities, I know, but there's also the strong chance that it might not. That somehow, where everybody's happy, because the tribes that have had energy behind them in terms of people and rights and I mean, LGBT, you all had to come together to a certain extent to overcome this. You come to the mental health tribe with no energy from the medication, few and far between. How are we going to raise our voice to say, look, this ain't right, we need help. We're all still broken, we're not fixed yet. So I think I've put the situation out there. There's no need to go over it anymore. I need to get on my day, finish making this chocolate, and I'm going too slow speaking on camera, so I hope the intent of this video, putting it out there to the world, has shifted something on an energetic level whereby I can find an answer, because to go forward, that's it. This is a joke what you see in front of you here.